All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about how to use the phone to connect with new business leads. I'm primarily going to talk about three specific areas. The first one is you need to have lists to make calls. It's a very important part is making and having multiple lists to use for calls. The second area I'm going to highlight is you need to have a really good script. Scripts are real important. When you have a good script, you really do a better job. And then the third part, I'm going to give a couple tips, techniques, and some strategies how to make you a better person on the phone for calling and how to know some of your sales matrix numbers. So here we go, we're off. Keep in mind, telemarketing is just one of the tools in the marketing toolbox right now. There are so many different ways to create new business. Social media, website, email blasting, network meetings, all that is part of creating new business leads, but don't forget to be able to use telemarketing as one of the tools. And from telemarketing, you usually collect emails, so then you can go to another level with email blasting. So what's the best way to use my phone calling for new business? First, like I said, you want to have some multiple lists to use. And you can use a lot of different areas. I'm going to talk about some. One is to, when you attend network meetings, collect business cards. That should be your list for people you meet at meetings. Second, you want to be able to use brokers. And a broker list is great because you give them all the demographics of what you want to highlight, especially if you work a particular list in a specific industry. It works great. I'm going to talk about that later. You might have a referral leads list. Ask people for referrals, create a list, and that can be a really hot list that if you're not working well on one day when you're doing calling on a specific list, go to another list. That could be your referral list. It works very well. You've got your CRM database, which probably has a number of contacts in it. You could use that. And we're going to talk about some other sources. There's many sources: newspapers, business journal, B&I groups, LinkedIn. I want to highlight just a couple today. The first one is ask friends you know, ask business associates to give you some business leads. Everybody is workable to do that, as well as also maybe connect with people to ask for referrals. That's a great way. And then another one I want to highlight is trade leads with someone else in your industry. Years back in my sales career industry, I worked for Swank Audiovisuals. We rented audiovisual equipment. I was able to connect with 3 event planners, and they were like my business partner leads, and so we traded leads. I had people who were looking to do a venue or put on an event different from maybe a hotel. They would be a great venue. And then, of course, all of those meeting planners, if they were going to a different venue, they might need a sound system at that particular event, or they might want to rent an LCD projector. So it worked great. Find someone in your industry that's maybe not a competitor, but you can trade leads with it. Can work very, very well. Script is really important to your message, so develop a script. What is a script? A script should have an introduction, a body, and a close. In the introduction is where you introduce yourself and your company. The body is where you help talk a little bit about your company, your services, what you do. How do you differentiate your company from the competition? And then your close. Simply, what is the purpose for my call today? That is, do you want to set up a meeting? Do you want to do a phone call with them? Do you want to set up maybe and share a webinar? Maybe set up a Skype session or a Zoom session. Know what your purpose is for the call, and it makes a big difference so that you can close with that. Here's a sample script I wanted to share. I'm going to just read it, but it makes it real simple. You've got my introduction, body, and a close. I put it in the 3 phases. Hello, my name is John. I'm with Eyres Environmental Services. We provide environmental consulting and waste management for items that you're currently disposing. Our prices typically reduce our clients' costs 20 to 40%. Eyres will work with you every step of the way to develop feasible alternatives and identify the most compliant and cost-effective options. We're committed to providing the highest level of service, safety, and convenience delivered on time by highly trained professionals. The purpose for my call today, I'd like to set up a brief 15 to 20-minute meeting to introduce our company and find out exactly what your hazardous wastes are and save you money. The best days that work for me are Tuesdays and Thursdays. How does that look for you next week? So very simple, but when you have it down and it's right and tight, it works very, very well. Why should you use the phone? It's number one, it's a personal touch way to be able to talk to people. It works pretty quickly. It's a great way to contact people. Introducing yourself on the phone. Number one, this top line, be positive, happy, courteous, and cheerful. How you are at your desk on the phone comes across on the other end to that person that you're calling. So if you have a smile and come across very happy and cheerful about making the calls, that's going to come across to them. It's very important. What is the connection? How did you meet them, or how can you connect with them? You want to share maybe a specific industry. Companies that you've worked with in the past is a great way to benefit that call and move it forward to an appointment. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. You want to use questions maybe to prospect for interaction, as well as if they're not there, I'm going to talk about at the end how to leave a very well-crafted voicemail message. How to be a better person making the calls. I'm going to give you some tips, strategies, and techniques here real quick. Number one, you want to know what your sales matrix calling is. So this is all about knowing exactly how many hours you need to spend on the phone a week to meet your goals. So for instance, in this one, you want to have 8 meetings per week that might end up getting you actual 4 proposals. To get 8 meetings, by tracking your calls for about 2 weeks, you find out you need to talk to 30 people, okay? 30 people will net you 8 meetings. To talk to 30 people from taking notes for 2 weeks of all your call tracking, you realize you've got to make 100 dials to talk to 30 people. So now you've got your sales matrix worked up. 100 dials will get you 30 calls. 30 calls talking to people will get you 8 meetings, face-to-face meetings. Break that down. 100 calls, let's say you make about 25 calls an hour, so you need to do 4 hours of calling a week, maybe 2 hours on a Tuesday, 2 hours on a Thursday. Set those days aside, be consistent, and have those days where you make those calls. So you got 2 hours in the morning on Tuesday, 2 hours in the morning on Thursday. Can work very well. But being consistent every week with that will help you keep hitting those goals. Here's my secret sauce for today. If you can fine-tune your script to a specific industry that you've got clients in, it can work very well for your calling. I'm going to read this basic script is for a banking script to a banking industry, and the client has banks they've worked with. So hi, my name is John. I'm calling from Blue Moon Creative. We're a local marketing public relations firm experienced in the banking industry. We did some research about your bank and thought our firm might be a good fit for you. We're a boutique firm, which means we bring the experience of a big firm, but the customer service and local flair of a small agency. We help banks to develop a strong brand identity through graphic design, public relations, and social networking. We also build secure platform websites that can help you in consumer direct marketing as well. Banking and finance have long been one of our strongest client areas, so we're very familiar with getting results for your industry. This will give you an idea of the range of experience. Over the years, we've worked with the Bank of Jerseyville, Belleville Funding Corporation, Commercial State Bank of Alton, Collinsville Bank and Savings, Bank of Edwardsville. The purpose for my call today is to set up a meeting with our president, Mark Lewis, and myself to share our story and our expertise in the banking area. Little coaching tip. If you can utilize some team selling, can be very beneficial. Bring the president with you on a meeting. Say you'd like to bring the president and yourself and do a meeting. When I worked for Swank Audiovisuals, my mentor and my general manager, he encouraged me. He goes, John, set up meetings. I'm going to go with you on the meetings. Having him there was huge. It was great. He was a very well-tuned salesperson and really knew the sales, so I learned a lot from him. But the two of us meeting with the client really, really went well. We closed a lot of business that way. So you would get a list from a broker for maybe 200 banks, call those list of banks, use this script, it works great. You might go to another industry of manufacturing. Use the basic same script. The only thing you're going to change is we're a local marketing public relations firm with experience in the manufacturing industry. We do all the same stuff. Manufacturing has long been one of our strongest client areas, so we're very familiar with getting results for your industry. And just to be aware of the range of experience over the years, we have worked with the Frick Company, Dixie Paper Products, Kreider Calendar Company, Fannie Manufacturing, and the Bridge Game Company. So you've put it all together. Basically, you just tweak that script a little bit to that industry. It can work very, very well. Buy a list for 200 names in the manufacturing industry. Another area, use a quick connect method in your call. You usually have 2 minutes to do your introduction, body, and close. When you first introduce yourself on the phone, you say, "Hi, my name is John. I'm with Business Connections Consulting. How are you doing today?" They'll say, "Fine." Bang, right there is when you want to introduce a quick connect. Just share something real special with them. If it's Friday, a lot of times they'll say, "Happy Friday." That works great. It gets a nice chuckle from them. They do a really good response to that. But maybe share something about the weather, about a TV spectacle, about a sports event, something that you would be very accustomed to talk to, and it can work very well. And you let them, chime in a little bit. Try to avoid political or religious areas, but I encourage you to make a list of your own that will fit for you. But you name it. Right now, if you're talking about weather, that Oroville Dam in California, that's a touchy situation. You could bring that up. Talk about the Grammys that just happened Sunday night. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can just say. What do you think about the Grammys? Let them talk, bang, then go right back into your script. Number one tip to getting them call you back from a voicemail message. Leave a very solid crafted message, and I'll read mine and you'll see where the key ingredient is. "Hi, my name is John Eyres. My company is Business Connections Consulting. I'm calling about the outbound calling services we provide as an outsourced cost-saving solutions to create new business leads for your company. My phone number is 314-495-2089. The best time to reach me is after 4 p.m. any business day of the week. Thank you and have a successful day." So leave a specific time for them to call you back. And when that phone rings, make sure you pick up the phone and answer it. So after 4 o'clock each day, my phone starts ringing. I work to pick it up, and it works very well. But leave a specific time frame. Maybe call me in the morning between 7 and 8. Call me in the afternoons between 1 and 2 o'clock. Leave a specific time. It can work very well. Also, you might be able to follow up with a brief email if you can get their email address or you already have it. Many times you can ask the receptionist. They'll say, "Oh, Jim's not in today." And then I might say, "Well, can I leave a message, maybe get his email? I'd love to send him some information about my company." So craft a email message. Again, put the best time to reach you is after 4 p.m. any business day of the week. When is the best time to reach you? So that if they do dare to step out and give you a call, you're going to answer that phone when they call. Okay, again, we talked about 3 specific areas today. List, how important they are. Having multiple lists is a great benefit for you. It gives you the luxury that if one list isn't working on the morning you're calling, simply go to another list. 2, we talked about scripts and how to use them, how to benefit from them, how to use a script to the specific industry you're calling, especially when you have clients in that industry. And then 3rd, I talked about a couple areas for you as a calling person, just to help you know how many hours you want to spend on the phone, what you need to meet your numbers and all that, as well as a couple other areas. So I guess we have 5 minutes for questions? Okay, 5 minutes for questions, anybody?
John, when you talk about cold calling, are these calls that you've demonstrated here, are those to individuals that you know have a need for your services, or you know have a need to begin with? In other words, they're not just what's the level of their?
It's all over. But
okay.
for my company, because we do outbound calling services, that's all we do. We're very niche. Most of the lists provided to me by my clients, they have to provide us a list. They are purchased from a list broker.
Okay.
And I really encourage them to try to follow that industry-driven script format, purchase a list of companies in that industry. We'll share the list, that script very defined with them to try to set up a meeting, a phone call, or a session with them.
But beyond that, you don't have any need or have any knowledge whether their need for your services is top of mind, incidental, in the background?
No, and that's part of what telemarketing is all about, especially that's why they call it cold calling sometimes. If you're reaching and doing cold calling, you're trying to find out who has a need for your service, or at least you're sharing your story, you're planting a seed so that down the road, maybe you can email them, they will be able to have information about you and can contact you in the future. Because before that call happened, they didn't know anything about your company. Now after the call, they at least know what your product or service is. You send them an email of information. In the future, could be 6 months, 12 months down the road, they might reach out when they have that need.
John, I've got a couple of questions about your script. I realize that I'm probably not as susceptible to, receiving cold calls maybe as the average person, but I couldn't imagine someone getting through a 2-minute script talking to me. And also, so how does that work? Or
so
it
most
just
of these
seems like
scripts
very
today
long.
probably take less than a minute to read on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, you're real brief and concise and to the point. That works very well. When you can do some calling and you've got your script down, you know it really, really well, you're going to say it pretty brief. You target those bullet points. Bullet points are easy to read and they're easy for the listener to hear on the phone on the other end, and then you simply close. My purpose for the call today, I'd love to set up a phone call meeting with you to talk a little bit further about maybe some of your needs. But a lot of these scripts take less than 40 seconds to read over the phone. You can go into more depth. It depends if you know the person you're calling to. You met them at a networking meeting. Changes it up a little bit. But when you're out telemarketing for new business leads, it's important, I think, to be concise, to the point, and not take up a lot of their time.
Okay. And then also, do you have to work hard to keep it from sounding stilted?
No, I suggest practicing your script probably 50 or 60 times. Have that script down so it's like talking to anyone on the phone. You know it by heart. I have my call people always print out a copy of the script, take it to the bathroom. Whenever they're in the bathroom, practice that script. But it works. Tom.
John, you mentioned planting seed and then perhaps emailing them down the road. A lot of times, especially with a purchase list, you don't have an email address.
Correct.
Or the email addresses you may get from a purchase list are not any good. So how do you go about getting emails and also opening the door so that they welcome those emails if you are going to send them?
So 2 areas to that. Number 1, if you do talk to the person, usually at the end of the script, we work with like a step down. We'll say, hey, I'd love to set up a meeting with you. If they maybe turn that down, say, well, would you be open to a 10-minute phone call next week? Let's do a 10-minute phone call. If they say no to that, then I simply would ask, well, would it be okay to get your email, send you some information? I have a 1-page e-brochure I can send you, has all my information and contact numbers on it. And when you do that, it works very good. So you've kind of got that flow going. I'm out of time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.